almost immediately after President Trump made this announcement.
I will nominate Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court.
His judicial record and legal philosophy got lost amid other issues. So why is Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court controversial? First, it's a very important seat. Retired Justice Anthony Kennedy represented the swing vote on key issues. While he was traditionally conservative in some areas, he often sided with the court's 4 liberal justices on topics like abortion, guns, same-sex marriage, and health care. Now, let's look at Kavanaugh's partisan background. His career choices include years investigating President Bill Clinton, which led to his impeachment, and working for President George W. Bush as Deputy White House Counsel and Staff Secretary. Then there's the upcoming midterm elections, November 6th, which create a sense of urgency because Democrats have a slim chance of winning a Senate majority. If that happens, they could defeat Kavanaugh's nomination and any other nominee. That explains why the Trump administration is pushing this nomination into the fast lane. So no matter what side of the aisle you're on, sparks will fly. During the extensive Senate Judiciary Committee hearings happening right now.
Turns this hearing into a charade and a mockery.